Good afternoon, class. I hope everybody's well. I'm going to give my family exploration presentation on the Jewish Passover. Okay. According to Jace White Love Study 2019, published in the Jerusalem, most Jews, approximately 87% of its participants, practice Judaism. That's Tarkalan 2019. On the other hand, 43% is of the opinion that Yom Kippur was the most important Jewish holiday. However, Pesach, or the Jewish Passover, was the most celebrated holiday, which 95% of its participants, followed by Kippur at 90%. This indicates that the Hebrew Pesach or Passover feast is extremely crucial to the Jews. I have learned that among Jews, the Passover is one of the most celebrated sacred feasts where they celebrate Hebrews' exodus from ancient Egypt. It is known as Pesach in Hebrew and is celebrated 8 days each spring. The Jews followed the Hebrew calendar to locate its exact dates in the Nisan, or the first month of the Hebrew calendar. Most of them avoid work on the first and the last days to follow the Passover ritual. The last 2 days, as well as the first 2 days, there's a lighting of candles which take place. And on holiday meals, family and friends come together to share a meal and read the Exodus story from a unique text. Excuse me. The Jews then observe all rituals mentioned in the text. Now I want to talk about the ritual Passover. The Passover ritual. Before the Passover ritual begins, the Jews observe one important ritual where they must remove all leavened foods from within their home shortly before the actual Passover is celebrated. Okay, what I'm going to do now is go over a few of these rituals. One of them is they consume matzo, a type of flatbread, unleavened instead of leavened bread. Now, what is the significance of that, or the importance? Hebrews escaped Egypt, and there was no time to yeast their bread and wait for the dough to rise. Also, the unleavened bread was lighter and portable, hence could be carried easily around the desert that Hebrew was able to cross after fleeing Egypt. Another ritual is they would dip their vegetables in salted water. This was done in remembrance of the tears the Jews shed during the tough years of slavery in ancient Egypt. Another thing they did was eating vegetables with bitter herbs. Bitter herbs stands for bondage years of the Jews of the past. Another thing, a ritual, was at the Seder Fest, congregants ate from a plate containing various Passover foods. It's located at the center of all foods, and they have unique meanings. For instance, the cherosat, which represents the mortar that they use in bondage. That they use in bonding bricks in bondage. Eating in a reclining position is another thing that they practice, another ritual. This symbolizes their freedom and relaxation from slavery, similar to ancient times where free people ate in reclining sofas. The role of family members in the Passover. Children play a crucial role in the Passover, and they signify growth of the Jewish generation is continuing. All Passover rituals are tailored to grab their attention and include them in a celebration as much as possible. The firstborn fast a day before the Passover. This is to commemorate their escape from death in Egypt during the plague of the firstborn. The youngest child presents the celebration, is charged with asking 4 questions which distinguish and special Passover nights from the other nights. Without question, cannot be eaten. Children must hunt the Afikomen, where children find matzo and hold it ransom until somebody finds it, and they would either receive a prize or a money reward. Males usually assume the lead role in the Passover, as opposed to women, who are traditionally seen as auxiliaries, as they are disallowed to teach a patzo. Gender plays a significant role among Jews during the Passover. Although older males serve critical roles in explaining the history of the Pesach, it should be shared with older women as well, since they have lived experience alongside of their male counterparts. Additionally, both males and females suffered slavery in Egypt and escaped together. Therefore, it would be in order if the Passover lead role is shared equally among males and females. The effects of sex on emotional relationships. During the interview that I conducted, I found myself in disagreement with much of the information that I was collecting because my interviewee was a female. Among the Jews, the females played second fiddle to the adversaries, and hence I felt my interview was not inept enough with information. I felt that she was not as detailed as I expected, and this made my interviewee techniques a little bit more abrasive and intimidating without me even knowing it. I did this subconsciously. Whenever she disagreed or was willing to deliver the information that I required, gender played a role causing me to become more aggressive, since I felt that I deserved to know more about the Passover feast. On the other hand, by disagreeing or claiming to lack an idea, I felt that she was blocking the information that I have a right to. Gender and sexual differences between us affected the rapport, making my interviewee grow somehow, get cold feet, and stop answering my questions, and stop responding, anticipating reactions every time she did. On the opposite, sexual relationship not only affected the quality of responses, but also hindering our feelings emotionally. The firm beliefs between us concerning the opposite sex and gender created a conflict between us, which affected the general productivity of our conversations. Communication theories. Symbolic interactionism theory is among the theories that can bring out the most important of interpersonal communications, or even express the current level of a relationship. Studies people's engagement in making meaning during their interactions with the real world surrounding them. Cole, Nikki, and Lisa, 2020. The theory states that our social interactions are primarily formed by the assumptions and the conclusions that we draw about people. This theory further states that people change by drawing mistaken conclusions about others. For instance, people of the opposite gender, hence interacting with the opposite gender, helps us straighten out our myths, our misconceptions about them. Nikki, Cole, and Lisa, 2020. The conflict theory that primarily ascribes life to competition between social groups focuses on the power, inequality, as well as sacred resources are described. Conflict theory is rapidly becoming a useful tool in explaining a social change and conflicts in communication discourses across genders and sexes. Littlejohn, Stephen, and Karen, 2009. It can apply where women are forced to play adversaries to men in the Jewish community. Passover is one of the most celebrated sacred feasts where they celebrate Hebrews' exodus from ancient Egypt. It is clear that the sexual and gender differences play a role in men and women's relationship, especially in the content of the Passover, where women are sidelined to their gender and sexuality. It is always important to review all subjective emotions with help of communication theories to help individuals review any flawed assumptions made concerning people. This will raise awareness in people communications better in the future. Thank you.